Brought to you by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
Welcome back, everybody. We are talking about property as we always do. Now Liz is here from RE/MAX Diamond Realty. And Liz, one of the things you always say is, you are not an official consultant. You don't have an accounting degree or license and everything. So you brought a friend with you today.
That's correct.
Who can speak with great authority on that. Stanley Wilson, welcome to the Harmon Studios, and we're glad to have you here to shed light on some of the many aspects of property.
Thanks for having me here.
All right.
Thanks for having us. Every time we appear on your show, we always preface it. We're not attorneys and we're not tax consultants. And so today we decided to bring our certified public accountant, and he would shed some light on some of the questions about inheritance tax and how that works for the island, since we are organic citizens. And there are, well, I'll let Stan talk about what the real estate taxes involve when you're a citizen of Guam.
This will be really quick and easy. There is no inheritance tax. Goodbye.
Hey, short and sweet.
There actually is
a true accountant.
There is no inheritance tax. There is a gift tax and there is an estate tax. It's in the U.S. tax code, IRS tax code. When a person dies, their estate is valued at current values, so that property bought a long time ago very cheaply is valued for estate tax purposes at its current market value. And then there's a rather hefty tax, although there is also a credit against the tax, so that the first couple of $1 million, and it changes each year the amount that's exempt from taxation. There's also a gift tax, and the gift tax is when a person gives a gift to another person. If it's over $14,000 currently, the person giving the tax pays a tax. Giving the gift pays the tax. So
otherwise, it would be a rather...
So when there is an inheritance, there is no inheritance tax. Everything that goes to the beneficiaries, either of an estate or as a gift, come to them tax-free. It's not even reportable on their tax return. Somebody gives you $1 million and has paid the proper tax on it. You just put it in your bank account. It doesn't hit your tax returns at all. Guam is a little bit unique in that when the Organic Act was done in the 50s, I believe, they put provisions in there that citizens who become citizens by virtue of the Organic Act and their heirs are not subject to either the gift tax or the estate tax. I think it was done with the concept that many Chamorros at that time were land rich and dollar poor, and it was an exemption from that in the Organic Act, so that Chamorro families that owned lots of land can keep it, so that they can pass it down to the heirs. So that if you are an Organic Act citizen, which means where you became a citizen by virtue of the Organic Act or their heirs, you're not subject to either the estate tax or the gift tax. However, when a person who is an Organic Act citizen dies, their estate is valued just like a U.S. estate at current values. So that if Grandpa bought a piece of property in Tumon for 25 cents a square meter, and when he dies and it's worth $1,000 a square meter, it's valued for his estate purposes at the $1,000 a square meter, so that when his children or heirs receive the property, they receive it as though they had purchased it at the current value, so that if they turn right around and sell it, even though it originally cost 25 cents a square meter, and they sell it for $1,000 a square meter, their basis or their cost is basically $1,000 a square meter, and they can sell it without having any taxes owed. So kind of get the best of both worlds there if you're an Organic Tax citizen or one of the descendants.
Now, Liz, you've talked about in the past shedding light on the fact that very often here on Guam, as Stan just said, people have a tendency to will property, to gift property, to entitle property from some means to their children, even though their children aren't of legal age yet and everything. Are there any stipulations when you do this kind of thing, like the taxes that apply?
When we have families that come to us and they say, well, we want to sell this property, but it was deeded to us by my father. The question is, was it deeded prior to his death or after his death? Because there are I think Stan was talking about some tax consequence.
Actually not.
No.
Gifts or property before or after death are valued at the date of the gift. For gift tax purposes, that 25 cents a square meter property in Tumon, if it's gifted prior to death or prior to death, it's valued at the $1,000 a square meter, even though there is no gift tax. The person receiving the gift holds the property as though they had paid the $1,000 a square meter. Again, the gift can be received, sold the very next day at the current market value, and there'll be no gain to report and pay taxes on. That particular transaction, the sale, does need to be reported on your tax return, but more than likely, if there's sales commissions and other things, you might even end up with a loss.
Now, if they sell it above the $1,000 mark,
Then
the
there's-
taxable portion is above that value when they received it.
So any margin that they have
Yes.
for profit and everything. Well, that
Yes.
makes perfect
minus
sense.
any sales commissions that Liz
Expenses.
earns.
Yeah. Well, where can people find out more information, or Stan, how can people contact you? Because certainly this is something that a lot of people are going to be interested in.
Well, you know, I'm not out. I'm really not here fishing around for business. Look on the yellow pages for CPAs.
Okay.
Significant transactions, gifts or sales of major pieces of property, should probably be planned with a CPA involved prior to the completion of the transaction. That way, there might be some ways to save on taxes. And, you know, there's not a CPA in the phone book that doesn't know all about this. I have no special skills or talents over my, you know.
Like right now, we're working on our trust so that we could deed property to our children, and we're prepping the draft, and then we're going to meet with Stan to look it over to make sure things are in order before we actually file it.
All right. Well, thank you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Stay tuned, everyone. We're back after this.